filling in for Greg, who is still off trying to figure out why breastfeeding isn't working for him. Yep, I've already broken one of my New Year's resolutions. It's 2025, and I'm still filling in for Greg. You can tell the holidays are over in New York City. Earlier today, I saw some people in Times Square picking up trash. In a recent video, Hilaria Baldwin claimed to forget the English word for onion. In other news, her husband, Alec, forgot the word for duck.
Oh, no.
To recruit Gen Z, Joe Biden's Pentagon poured big money into the Kelly Clarkson and Guy Fieri shows. Hey, can I at least get $10? Asked another TV host. President Biden will award the second highest civilian honor to the leaders of the January 6th Commission. But he's giving the highest civilian honor to the medical team that's keeping him alive. Liz Cheney will be among those getting a civilian honor. Biden would have just taken a dump on the award, but his handler said, "Don't take a dump on that award." Joke is my favorite thing about the day. Okay. And finally, science has officially confirmed that know-it-alls typically know less than they think they do.
I support that.
All right, now to the monologue. 2 terror attacks hundreds of miles apart. The killer in New Orleans, an American radicalized by ISIS, a military man who slipped through the cracks, and the perp in Las Vegas, an Army vet from Colorado. So naturally, the FBI is trying to figure out a connection between the 2 cases. And as of today, they said there's no definitive link between them. But 2 attacks on the same date, is it just a coincidence that these 2 happened using the same rental car agency from the same military origins on the same day? I'm not going to offer any grand theories or say that I know more than you do, because I don't. But the question remains, will we ever know the truth of what happened in New Orleans, or in Las Vegas for that matter? It's certainly top of mind for Louisiana Senator John Kennedy, who had a pretty ominous warning for the feds in Washington.
I will promise you this. I will, when it is appropriate and this investigation is complete, you will find out what happened and who was responsible. Or I will raise fresh hell. And I will chase those in the federal government who are responsible for telling us what happened, like they stole Christmas.
I agree with him. We deserve the truth. We pay the government. And when people mess up, there should be accountability for their mistakes. But all too often, there isn't. Look at the Afghanistan pullout disaster, or even that decades-long war that cost so much money and so many lives. Such a failure, and there was no accountability. Lack of accountability means people who are corrupt and or incompetent are being allowed to remain in positions of power to continue to screw things up. By the way, although I do think the government should be really small, protecting us from terror attacks, like the one in New Orleans, is one of those few things that I would like them to actually be doing. Instead of investigating, parents upset at school board meetings as terrorists. But the government is more wrapped up in security theater, like the TSA, than actual real security. And if things leading up to Las Vegas and New Orleans were ignored because the government was focused elsewhere, we deserve to know. We deserve transparency, and we deserve competence. Our lives depend on it, and we certainly pay enough. Let's welcome tonight's guest. Her lenses are progressive, but she sure isn't. Host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. He thinks vanilla wafers are too spicy. Fox News contributor Tom Shalhoub. He sounds like a smoker who lost his house in poker. Comedian Jim Florentine. All right. His old shirts are used to cover the infield at Citi Field because his shirts are big because he is big. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, former NWA world champion, Tyrant.
When we say Fenway Park.
Kennedy, it's been obviously a long, horrible day.
Awful.
Awful day. You know, everyone's thinking new year, new me, everything's so exciting. And then we have this horrible, devastating attack. Still trying to figure out a lot of what happened. What are your thoughts?
That my resolutions are very superficial,
Yeah.
and self-centered, and I felt really dumb and horrible when I woke up yesterday morning
Yeah.
because
think
went
a lot
to
of
bed
us
like
did.
everybody else. You know, this happened at 3:15
Yeah.
in the morning, the New Orleans horrific terror attack, which was 12:15 on the West Coast. So a lot of people went to bed thinking a page was going to be turned. That's how, everyone has been feeling very optimistic that we're on the precipice of a new beginning. And then we wake up and we hear about the blood and the devastation and the carnage.
Yep.
And, we got the description of what happened to those innocent victims. And now it feels like a problem that we were kind of ignoring is very much back. And, we are in this limbo, really in between presidents, because we don't have a president right now. And it's kind of scary that, there are people out there, whether they're radicalized, they're American citizens, or they're people who are coming into the country through the southern border who are already radicalized, who want to do as much harm as possible and want to push buttons and test the boundaries of this waning presidency. That's what really scares me. And, I hope that these agencies that you talked about lock it up and focus on the right thing, which is keeping us safe for the next 3 weeks.
I hope so too. I hope so too. Tom, what do you think? What do you think's going on here?
Well, you asked the question about how could these things, people keep talking, how these people fall through the cracks once again. Why does it keep happening is the question. I am thinking, most of my adult life, I've been looking at politicians who go on and on about terrorism, but I'm starting to think that their concern for terrorism, they're always using it for their own pet projects. I remember after 9/11, this whole country came together after 9/11, and then the neocons decided to take our very real concern about terrorism and do their pet project of remaking the Middle East. Well, that's not a very popular idea
Or
anymore.
gaining power from themselves by things like the Patriot Act.
Yes, and and we all kind of jumped into the Patriot. Oh yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Because after 9/11, I remember we got on a plane, and we were almost excited by all the extra security. It was like, yeah, pat me down, definitely. I want to prevent terrorism. But then politicians ran off and they did other stuff with it, and they weren't concerned about the homeland. And then we had, recently, this administration has been running around, and you ask yourself, oh, maybe the FBI, these fall through the cracks because they're running around chasing down dangerous terrorist groups like Catholics who like to go to the Latin Mass. They were actually
you,
real enemy.
You're the real terrorist.
And it sounds like a joke, but the
it's
FBI
not.
was opening up an investigation into those strange Latin mass Catholics with their battle cries, Mea Maxima Culpa, and the January 6 people. So, whether it was using terrorism to try to start wars abroad or going after the January 6 crowd and trying to lock up MAGA Americans. Well, luckily, I think we have someone coming into the White House who's against both of those big projects and actually does want to protect the homeland.
Now, Jim, I know you must be exhausted because whenever something like this happens, you're the first person people call. And you're an expert, right, on these geopolitical issues and terror and security. So, as our leading expert in this area, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I am.
How excited are you to talk about this right now?
It's a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't know why this guy wasn't on anybody's radar. That's what always happens. These guys slip through the cracks. I mean, he posted on Facebook that he wanted to kill his family. Nobody saw that. Mm-hmm. Then he drove from Texas to New Orleans, 350 miles with an ISIS flag on his truck.
Yeah.
Nobody reported that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get pulled over when I got tinted windows. This guy's got a flag and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Well, look, you live in a free society. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
I was walking around New York today with all the crowds, and I'm thinking at any point something like this could happen, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
And the next time I'm going to be, I'm going to a New York Jets football game on Sunday, And I was wondering, but I'm like, there's not going to be a big crowd there. So I don't have to worry about that.
I even got that one. Yeah. It's because the Jets aren't good.
Could be Aaron's last game, so it might show.
Aaron Rodgers plays for the Jets.
Yes.
He's a quarterback. The quarterback is the one who throws it.
Very good, Kat.
We've been working on it.
That almost makes up for that mean intro. It's
Yeah.
the anger you feel. I lived in New Orleans, Louisiana for
Yep.
almost 10 years. And it goes back to the same. You can't stop motivated bad men from doing bad things, but you can at least not be soft targets. And I think the horrible, depressing thing, and Kennedy was on the 5 with me today, and we were just outraged by the press conference, the lack of just accountability, the lack of, you don't even want to use the term DEI because it's just across the board of unqualified people in these jobs who can't make decisions to keep us safe. And when you see something as preventable, that's the part that bothers, I think, the American people. When you hear their excuses like, well, the hydraulics were out on the things in the street, so they had a car park, which is half the size of the street. That was their plan. And they said, we had a plan, and I believe it was, but the terrorists beat our plan.
Yeah.
And everybody was okay with that. Where is her resignation? Like, we have to stop allowing the new administration coming in. We've had 3.5 years of unqualified people getting jobs they had no business having in the federal government level. The amount of cleanup, the amount of wrongdoing in this country to where everything's a soft target is going to take years to correct and to get these people out of their jobs, to make things. We're not going to be able to protect everyone, but you should be able to go to New Orleans or New York. Here in New York, you can say what you want. They put dump trucks, big bricks. They make it impossible. You're going to do something bad. You're not going to be able to do it this way. We just had it happen in Germany. And again, New Orleans is almost known for their corruption. They had $40 million to fix their streets. Where's that money? You know, they also have these things with these hydraulic things that come up and make it impossible to get through there. We saw pictures at one point, it was guardrails and a caution sign. That was their plan. That's the part. We need to stop talking about martyrizing these terrorists and stuff. We need to focus on when these bad things happen, the people who sit there in these cush jobs and make these decisions have nothing better for us than saying, like, we'll be better next time. That's not good enough, and it shouldn't be good enough for anybody.
All right. Up next, it's a tough sell when Joe says he did well.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.